Once upon a time, long before memory wore crowns, before time learned to keep track of itself, there was a kingdom kissed by the gods, carved by wonder and veiled by magic. It was called Ugwueze, and just as its name implies, it was a kingdom built on the mountains, surrounded by earth's wondrous creations, the seas, the forests, and its magnificent creatures. A land where magic breathed in the soil, and the wind whispered secrets from one mountain top to another. Ugwueze was no ordinary place. Rivers gleamed like mirrors, and waterfalls sang lullabies into the twilight. The skies above stretched into the endless horizon, and when the sun rose, it painted the earth in gold and bronze. The air was thick with the scent of white hibiscus, spiced yam stew, and rain on red clay. In Ugwueze, every stone had a story, and every tree had a spirit. Giant baobabs loomed like watchful elders, their branches thick with ancestral energy. At night, fireflies floated like embers from heaven, and the stars glittered like they were trying to outshine the brightness of the day. The men of Ugwueze adorned themselves with beads that told of bloodlines, victories, and whispered blessings. The women adorned themselves with the finest jewelries and the choicest clothes. Their drums spoke louder than tongues, and their dance was not just a movement. It was history. It was prophecy. It was power. At the kingdom's heart stood a palace carved from ivory stone and crowned with golden domes that caught the sun like fire. Inside lived kings and queens whose word was law and whose lineage was whispered in tales and legends. But this story is not about mountains, nor people, nor kings. It is about love. A love born from ashes, tender yet fierce, gentle yet unstoppable. A love that would rise like smoke from broken embers and carve its name indelibly into the stars. It began in the most unexpected place, with a girl named Apunanwu, the sun's daughter, not because she descended from the sky, but because her spirit shone even in the darkness. From the warmth of her hands to the light in her laughter, she lit the path for others, even as her own heart was buried in shadows. This is a story of love, the kind that survives cruelty, blooms in sorrow, and dances with destiny. A story laced with ancient magic, untold longing. It is the story of a girl who lit a path for others, even in her darkest times, and a prince whose heart would defy boundaries and tradition. Dearest gentle viewers, listeners, and dreamers, welcome to the kingdom of Ugwueze, where every love story begins with wonder, and this one will leave you breathless. A long time ago, in the faraway and fabled kingdom of Ugwueze, a land embraced by untouched nature, where trees sang ancient songs and rivers shimmered like woven silver, there lived a kind and beautiful maiden named Apunanwu, fondly called Anwu, meaning the sun. She was the only child of Mr. Amadi, a well-respected merchant, and his gentle, gracious wife, Mrs. Akugo. Their home, a modest but peaceful mansion near the sweeping pastures where Mr. Amadi raised cattle and goats, was filled with warmth, laughter, and love. Apunanwu had been cradled in affection from birth. Raised in an atmosphere of harmony and delight, she radiated kindness, joy, and serenity like the dawn itself. But light does not last forever. Tragedy struck one bitter season when Mrs. Akugo fell gravely ill. Her ailment was strange and lingering, resistant to every known remedy. Mr. Amadi, heartbroken and desperate, suspended his trade journeys and remained by her side. He brought every renowned healer from across the land, herbalists, mystics, physicians, but none could halt her decline. He tried to shield Apunanwu from the weight of the truth, sending her off to tend to the herds during the day. But the young girl, wise beyond her years, knew that something was wrong. She would creep back into the house to listen at her mother's door, catching snatches of whispered diagnosis and watching healers leave with solemn expressions. Her father had grown pale with worry. Apunanwu was only 15, but she knew. One quiet evening, her mother summoned her. "Take this bracelet," she said, her voice a soft wind. "Always keep it close. When you think of me, it will stir. Don't cry, my child. Your joy is a gift. Never lose it. No matter how dark the days may become, your spirit is a doorway to blessings untold." Apunanwu clung to her mother that night, and she passed away shortly after. Their home, once vibrant with laughter, fell into a quiet gloom. Apunanwu and her father mourned deeply, but their bond strengthened. They became each other's anchor in the sea of grief. Yet time would not let them remain still. Mr. Amadi had to resume his merchant trade. Though reluctant, he entrusted Apunanwu to his old friend, Mr. Ekene, who had 2 daughters of his own. Apunanwu never felt truly at ease in that household, and neither did her father. Each time he returned to find his daughter's brightness dimmed, his heart twisted. He longed for her to grow in a home filled with joy, laughter, and maternal comforts. "I have decided to remarry," he told her one evening, watching as her eyes widened in surprise. "But father, you always said you wouldn't remarry," Apunanwu said quietly. "I know, my daughter," he replied, holding her hand. "But I want you to have a complete family again. Someone to be there when I'm away. I can't bear to leave you sad and alone." Apunanwu hesitated, her voice barely a whisper. "Do you think your new wife will like me?" "Of course she will love you," Mr. Amadi said, kissing his daughter's cheeks. "Who wouldn't love such a precious, gentle soul?" Apunanwu smiled faintly. The idea of a family again, though uncertain, offered a glimmer of hope. The day finally came. Mr. Amadi arrived with his new bride, Madame Obiageli, a woman of striking beauty, with high cheekbones, a tall, graceful figure, and a regal presence. Her eyes scanned the house with a sense of possession, her smile polished and unreadable. From the carriage came 2 girls, both around Apunanwu's age. They disembarked with an air of entitlement, barely sparing Apunanwu a glance as they waved and ran into the house. "So I have sisters," Apunanwu thought, blinking in surprise. She curtsied politely before the elegant woman, who now stood in her courtyard as her new mother. "Oh my goodness!" Madame Obiageri remarked, reaching to embrace her. "You are quite the beauty! Such lustrous hair!" Then, in a cool tone laced with double meaning, she added, "So you are the Apunanwu that your father keeps praising." The way he talks about you, I feel as if I have known you all my life." There was a pause. Apunanwu smiled uncertainly. She couldn't tell if the words were warm or cold. That night, Mr. Amadi took her aside. "I know the girls were a surprise," he said, smiling gently. "I wanted it to be a joyful one. Obiageli is a widow as well. We both needed a second chance. Promise me, Anwu, promise me that you will help them feel at home." "I will, Papa," she said. "I promise." And she kept her word. When Mr. Amadi left for business, Apunanwu did all that she could to welcome her new family. She cooked, cleaned, arranged their rooms, fetched their water, hoping that her kindness would be seen and reciprocated. But as days passed, the household shifted. "I will fetch the water from the stream," barked Akonna, the elder stepsister. "I will sweep the courtyard and prepare the stew," ordered Ugwueze, the younger stepsister. Their voices were sharp with disdain, and the warmth Mr. Amadi envisioned never took root. Apunanwu endured. Her nature would not allow hatred to take hold. She served them with grace, still believing in goodness. When Mr. Amadi returned, he saw harmony. His daughter was smiling. His new family looked content. He brought gifts, gowns, fine jewelries, and perfumed oils. Apunanwu's gifts were almost the most exquisite. Her stepsisters watched with envy and resentment shimmering in their eyes. But outside the walls, the people loved her. Her beauty, her character, her resilience. They called her a rare flower, blooming in stone. Her spirit overshadowed her stepsisters, and Madame Obiageli noticed and soon grew very resentful. Then came the moment they waited for. Mr. Amadi left on another trade journey. Before departing, he called Apunanwu into a tight embrace. "I will bring you something special this time," he promised. She watched him ride off, heart full of anticipation. Days passed. One cool evening, there came a knock at the door. Apunanwu dropped her mop and ran to answer it, hope bursting in her chest. But it wasn't him. It was a royal courier, his face somber. He handed an envelope to Madame Obiageli. "I regret to inform you, your husband perished 4 nights ago. The cold came very early this year, and he was not prepared." Madame Obiageli went pale, pressing the letter to her chest. "My condolences, madam," the messenger said gently. And then he turned to Apunanwu. "Your father wanted you to have this." He handed her a small wooden box. Inside was her father's necklace, the silver locket he never removed. She opened it to find a photo of herself as a child between her mother and her father. She froze. Then she broke. Sobs tore through her chest as she collapsed to the floor, her screams echoing through the hall. The messenger knelt beside her, holding her gently. "Your father loved you more than words could ever say," he whispered. After he left, Madame Obiageli approached Apunanwu. "To mourn your father properly, you must shave your hair," she said coldly. Apunanwu agreed. She believed she was honoring her father. Her lustrous hair was shaved to the scalp. Her stepsisters laughed, mocking her as she stood silent in grief. "Will you not shave your own as well?" she asked them. They laughed even louder. Oh, he wasn't even our father, they sneered. Madame Obiageli joined. And he was never really my husband. You see, ours was just a business arrangement, nothing more. Apunanwu stood there, stripped of dignity, stripped of family. The realization was final. She was alone. After the burial, Madame Obiageli took control. She sold the remaining properties, hosted wild parties, and surrounded the house with strangers. She denied Apunanwu access to the inheritance and forced her to fend for herself. As the years went by, Apunanwu became a seamstress, crafting modest gowns for village women to earn a living. But Madame Obiageli was not done. "Bring me every single kobo you earn," she demanded, "or you won't eat in this house." Apunanwu handed over her hard-earned coins without protest. They kept her in the basement of the house, a dusty, rat-infested loft where she slept on a mat among old boxes and broken furniture. She was beaten when she failed, starved when she resisted, and ignored when she cried. Still, she survived. One day, she asked to go to the market. "I need needles and thread," she said. Madame Obiageli spat on the ground. "Be back before this saliva dries, or I will tan your skin." Apunanwu ran, her heart pounding. She quickly bought what she needed, but then she took the bush path home, pausing to gather some herbs for the sick animals. "Where is the bear?" the men asked, looking around. "Looks like it disappeared," they said, guiding their horses through the thorny bush path. Apunanwu was in the woods to collect herbs to make medicine for her beloved animals who had come down with the flu. Nothing else brought her joy in this cruel world than the comfort her domestic friends provided. She would do anything to protect that little source of joy. As she meticulously picked the herbs from the plants, she heard a sound behind her. She ignored the sound and focused on her task. The clock was ticking, and her stepmother had given her an ultimatum to return home before her saliva on the ground dries out. But the sound came again, more audible, more menacing. Apunanwu held her breath as she turned around and came face to face with a giant bear who was charged and ready to pounce. She screamed and ran for her dear life, and the bear chased after her in a hot pursuit. She ran and ran, but the bear was far too fast for its size. "Hold!" the leader said to the group. "I can hear something." The men listened again, and they could hear the faint sound of a young girl in danger. "Over there!" they screamed and charged their horses to a pursuit. The men raced towards the sound of the noise, but they were far too slow for their leader. He needed to get to that girl before the bear devours her. He charged his horse and outran his men, leaving them far behind. His horse sensed his urgency and doubled its speed, charging towards the lady who was in danger. Apunanwu ran as fast as she could, but she could not outrun the bear. Her spirit gave out, and she staggered to the ground, falling on the ground in seconds as she waited for the worst to happen. Suddenly, she saw his outstretched bow aiming at the bear as he struck it, sending it reeling to the ground. "Oh, I thought I was going to die," she muttered under her breath. "Are you okay?" he asked, getting down from the horse. "Yes, I'm fine. Thank you so much." She hugged him tightly. "May the gods always be with you for coming swiftly to my rescue. May you never lack a helper in your distressing times," she cried, blessing him. His heart greatly stirred. Everybody treated him like it was his responsibility to protect them. But this girl was different. She was so humble with a flawless spirit. He looked at her face. Why are you all alone by yourself in this dangerous place? He asked.
I came to gather herbs to make a tonic for my animals. I don't want them to die, she replied.
He looked at her, shocked. You mean you took all this risk just for an animal?
We must be kind to all at all times, she replied.
He looked at her again, his heart warming to the kindness and compassion in her eyes. This was no faking. There was a realness in her that he'd never seen in anyone else, not even his own mother. This girl right here was an angel, and he would ensure he told her so. You are beautiful, very pure and beautiful, he found himself saying. Apunanwu stood up, suddenly remembering her stepmother and the saliva.
Thank you so much, but I really have to go now, she said.
Stay with me a moment longer. I want to know more about you, he pleaded.
I'm so sorry, but I can't stay, she insisted.
Running away, he chased after her, calling her back. At least tell me your name, he yelled behind her, but she already was far away ahead, running like her life depended on it. Why did she have to run away like that? He wondered. She didn't even tell me her name. How am I supposed to track her now? He was so discouraged and sad about that brief encounter. The men finally caught up with him. We have been looking for you, my prince. Were you able to find the girl and the bear? They asked. But he was too far lost in thoughts. My prince? He shook his head. Oh, yes, I did. And she has stolen my breath away. Aww. Later that evening, as she lay curled in her basement, she whispered into the shadows. I almost died today if that hunter hadn't saved me. Her cheeks flushed. He was so strong. His eyes, the way he looked at me. She pressed a hand to her chest, her heart fluttering. Is this love? From above, Madame Obiageli's voice shattered the moment. What are you mumbling about up there? Get down there and make dinner. Apunanwu jumped to her feet and scurried down, but her heart lingered. Far away in his royal chambers, Prince Obinna lay wide awake, staring at the ceiling. I can't forget her, he murmured. The queen noticed. What troubles you, my son? Mother, I saved a girl from a bear today in the forest, and I think I've fallen in love with her, he finally confessed. The queen was shocked. You, Obinna, in love? She was perplexed. Who is this girl? That is the problem, mother. I don't know her. She ran off before I got the chance to ask her name, he said, rubbing his head in frustration. The queen sighed. It must be one of these local girls. So why are you sweating over a peasant girl? She is not just any peasant girl, mother. Prince Obinna shot back. I can't just explain how I felt when I saw her. It was as if my spirit left my body. She is not just beautiful, mother. She has the purest spirit I have ever seen. The queen shook her head and walked away. She went off to the king and informed him about it, but he waved it off. He's just infatuated about a brief meeting with a local girl. Wait till he meets Princess Urema of Ugwueze Kingdom, who he's been betrothed to. She will arrive in 2 days. Inform the court to begin preparations to welcome her, the king said. And so, preparations began. Florists arranged rare blossoms, royal chefs curated the menu, master tailors embroidered ceremonial robes, the royal equerries polished the state's chariots. Then, Princess Urema arrived in a carriage lined with silk and guarded by spearmen. Her beauty was the stuff of legend, graceful, poised, untouched. Her kingdom was second only to Ugwueze. This was to be a royal alliance sealed by marriage. But Prince Obinna did not come out to welcome her. He remained inside his chambers, refusing to acknowledge her. The king stormed in. "You shame this house! You dishonor a princess! Is this how I raised you?" The king barked furiously. Prince Obinna refused to budge. "I'm sorry, father, but I don't want to give the princess any more hope. We have both been given away in marriage even before we were born without our consent. Our feelings were not even considered." "Your feelings do not matter as a royalty. Your duty to your kingdom comes first. Princess Urema will be your bride, and that ends it." The king fired back and charged away. Princess Urema remained in her chambers, waiting for the prince to welcome her. She had never set eyes on him, but the stories told assured her that he was as good-looking and graceful as a gazelle. She too didn't like the arrangement, but she was willing to go through with it, just to please her kingdom. When the prince entered her chambers, he bowed to her and she curtsied. "I am sorry I could not come down to meet you earlier. I was indisposed," the prince said. "Oh, you were reluctant because you don't want to marry me, my prince?" Princess Urema asked. "It's only be a few minutes in the palace, but I have already heard some rumors," she said. "I am sorry to embarrass you, princess. This is very difficult for me, but it is better to be honest with you, as this will make things easier. We can remain friends, but that is all I can offer. My heart is elsewhere," the prince said, mustering all the courage he could manage. The princess bowed her head in distress. "I understand, my prince, but a local girl? An ordinary peasant? She must be special." "Yes, she is. I am sorry once again, my princess." Prince Obinna bowed and walked out of the room. Princess Urema was heartbroken. This was a brief encounter with a man she was promised in marriage right from birth, and he couldn't even look her in the face. She cried bitterly in her room. An ordinary girl had captured her man's heart, and it was more than any shame she had borne. She remained in Ugwueze kingdom for 2 more days and went back to her kingdom. "Your son and I have cancelled our engagement. We will not be marrying each other. Although it pains me, but I must agree that each of us has a path to tread, and we must follow our hearts," the prince said to the queen. "Thank you for your graceful hosting during my stay. I shall be returning to my kingdom, and you will never hear from me again." She bowed to the king, and then she got into her chariot and rode off. The king was very angry with Prince Obinna. "You are grounded in your chambers, and you are banned from leaving this palace until you change your mind and accept Princess Urema as your bride," he ordered. The door was shut, and hefty guards were placed at his door. The prince remained locked in his room for months. He refused to eat the food nor drink the water given to him. The queen was afraid. She begged the king, but he refused. He is no longer a child. He needs to know that being royalty comes with sacrifices and responsibilities. After how many months passed, and Prince Obinna refused to concede to his father's orders, the king began to have a change of mind. Rumors began to spread throughout the kingdom that the prince had died. Some said he had run mad and his father locked him up. Others said he was being punished for refusing to marry whom his father wanted. The kingdom was about to be divided in two. The king had no option but to reconsider. He went into the prince's chambers to talk to him. and what he saw scared him. Prince Obinna had aged 20 times over. His skin was pale and his eyes were yellow. He was on the brink of death. Quickly, he ordered servants to clean him up. He was given a royal bath. His beards and hairs were shaved and trimmed. He was well oiled and adorned like a true prince, and served a royal dish to eat. Later that night, the king took him on a walk in the gardens. 8 months ago, I grounded you in your chambers to make you change your mind, he began. As a young man who loved freedom to hunt, to travel and see the world, I felt it was the best punishment to make you change your mind and marry the princess, but I was wrong. You remained in your chambers, even starving yourself as a clear message that you were willing to die on your words. It has now struck me that you are a true son of his father. You are a true prince, fit to be a king. You gave your word and you stuck with it. It is a great quality of integrity. Your subjects will trust you and rely on you. I am proud of you, my son. Now you have my attention. Tell me what you want, the king said. The prince knelt before his father. Father, I am grateful for all you have taught me. You raised me to be the man I am today. Please, grant me this one request. Announce a royal ball, not just for royals this time. Invite everyone in the kingdom. All the pure maidens should be present. Then I will choose a bride from among them, the prince replied. Your wish is granted, the king said. And so it was declared. A royal ball will be held in Ugwueze, and destiny at last would awaken.